Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Luminous Darkness, an engaged Buddhist approach to embracing the unknown. By Deborah Tull, narrated by Deborah Tull. Dedication. Light does not come from light, but from darkness. Mircea Eliade, The Sacred and the Profane. Much of my life has been an exploration of what makes a good teacher. I dedicate this book to the beloved memory of Walter McKitchen, compassionate guide, mystic, friend, and one who walked between the worlds in devoted service and dynamic amusement, and to Ramada, for helping me to see through the embers and ashes of who I thought I was in order to know my true nature. I also dedicate this book to Bobby Robert Anderson, whose radiant beauty emanated even from the harsh confines of prison walls, and whose tragic story is shared by far too many extraordinary humans due to the brutality of systemic racism and the criminal justice system within the United States. Lastly, I dedicate this book to my ancestors, dharmic and karmic, who revered the night sky and who protected the earth's and darkened sanctuaries for restoration, communion, and vision. Acknowledgements. Long ago, a beloved teacher encouraged me to say yes to those projects which both serve our world and command me to meet my next growth edge. This book has been one of these divine assignments. I wrote Luminous Darkness backward into the present, allowing this book to reveal itself to me. This is how we walk through life, backward into the dark, into the unknown. We lean into the support of those already behind us. And I felt the support and loving companionship of so many from throughout my life during the journey of endarkenment. It is a privilege to be awake to the hidden dimensions or magic that make up the creative process. I acknowledge with love and gratitude the myriad invisible processes that went into creating this book. I drank from many wisdom streams and birthed this book through remarkable conversations. My writing called into play the synergy of dark and light through meditation, journeying, dreaming, poetry, and subconscious churnings, alongside compassionate discipline, perseverance, research, editing, and organized effort. Boundless gratitude to Mark D'Aquila, my husband, playmate, partner in service, and the love of my life. Your support, companionship, sense of humor, and patience nourished me day and night throughout the writing of this book. Thank you to my mom, Tanya Tull, a force of nature and lifelong inspiration, whose hidden superpower is editing. And to my entire family, who are always there supporting me. You know who you are. Thank you to Colleen O'Shea for empowering my vision, and to the entire Shambhala team, Beth Frankel and Brianna Locke, and freelancers Jill Rogers and Sylvian Consulting for helping me to bring this project to graceful completion. I am grateful for the brilliant creative support I received from Susanna Stromberg, Sharon Zetter, Jane Gould, Jasmine Coe for her incredible artwork, and many others. I am ever grateful for inspiring conversations and experiences shared with Joanna Macy, Claire Wings, Simon Buxton, Pam Weiss, Ruth King, Andrew Holacek, Laszlo Paul, Nina Simons, and other extraordinary beings for deepening my understanding and embodiment. I cherish my kinship with the Fierce Compassion Sangha, the Mindful Living Revolution Board and community, all participants in my Heart of Listening and Seeing with the Heart trainings, our monthly women's group, and all who dive deeply into practice with me. Lastly, I bow deeply in boundless reverence to the land I inhabit, and to the night skies for inviting me into co-creative relationship and continually reminding me of my place here. Introduction: How I Fell in Love with the Dark. In the fall of 2018, I stood under the night sky in Big Sur, at the mystical crossroads of forest and ocean. It was midnight. The sky was the pitch-black canvas for an explosion of stars, and I was encircled by cool, crisp ocean air. Resting in open awareness, in suspended fascination with the infinite vastness of the sky around me, I had an unusual encounter. I felt the subtle but certain presence of two stars connecting with me in the darkness of the night. While I had had decades of experience in engaged meditation and earth-based practices that had included subtle and profound communication with the spirits that animate our planet, I had never had nor imagined such an experience with stars. While I had often enjoyed the ritual of meditating outside at night, my fixed sense of self dissolving beneath the immensity of the Milky Way, my experience on this unique night surprised me. It felt at once perfectly ordinary and extraordinary to become intuitively aware of two stars that seemed to be actively communicating with me. The veil between the worlds disappeared as I began receiving quiet instruction and transmission about darkness and its teachings. It was the kind of communication that was nonverbal, received instead through image, metaphor, and feeling. It enlivened me, and I felt the steadfast embrace of communion. I woke up the next morning somehow altered by the encounter and by the period of deep contemplation that followed. Over a number of weeks, I continued to feel my attention directed and redirected in awe toward the darkness of the night skies. Sitting in meditation during the day or lying down to rest at night, I would find myself again experiencing a fertile cocoon of otherworldly transmission. Although I was aware of ancient civilizations that had profound relationships with darkness, the night sky, and the stars, this was counterintuitive to the culture in which I had been raised. In the brightly lit modern world, physical darkness is considered more of an inconvenience than an ally. In a state of receptive listening, I felt the divine darkness showing me something more, something I had always known. Though meditation does not teach us to fetishize mystical experience, the path of waking up reminds us that the human realm is not the only realm. Meditation teaches us to live in a state of openness and deep listening, not only in relation to humanity, but in relationship with the cosmos. By engaging in embodied listening as a way of life, we remember ourselves as part of the interdependent nexus of nature's intelligence. I never expected to write a book about darkness. As soon as the idea took root, however, the profound relevance of this topic for today's world, for meditators, and perhaps for every spiritual pathway, became clear. Although darkness, both physical and metaphorical, is today a widely misunderstood aspect of nature, its restorative medicine was cherished by our ancestors and many ancient civilizations across the world's continents. The value of darkness is unmistakable when we observe the natural world. Rediscovering darkness, and thus reuniting dark and light, yin and yang, the receptive and active aspects of nature, is nourishment that each and every one of us needs in order to be whole. Throughout history, humans across the world have sought out physical darkness as a spiritual guide, ally, and source of restoration. We have communed with one another under the midnight skies. We have valued time spent in caves and caverns. The seeds that sustain us have forever germinated in the earth's darkened topsoil, and our existence depends upon the pollination performed by honeybees who inhabit dark hives. We have sought guidance through nocturnal dreams for thousands of years. Today, darkness retreats are still practiced within the Tibetan Dzogchen teachings, European shamanism, Taoism, Christianity, and other spiritual traditions. But in the modern world, we spend very little time in physical darkness, except when we sleep. I see a connection between the overlighting of our planet and the overlighting of human consciousness. The dominant paradigm has become focused on the rational mind, linear thought, and hierarchical perception, as well as on activity and productivity. This book offers a restorative alternative. The global challenges we face today provide an unprecedented invitation for collective transformation. There is an opportunity to remember how to listen, see, and sense clearly from the heart. There are hidden powers within us that we have forgotten, that await us in the presence of darkness. True vision is received through learning to see in the dark. I believe that what we need today is visionary activism. Humans have been conditioned to fear that which we do not know, that which we cannot see or understand. It is true that sometimes the dark, both physical and symbolic, can seem threatening. I will offer guidance in this book for working with that fear. Rather than turn away, I encourage you to consider the fear we might experience beneath the new moon, which simultaneously casts upon us the darkest sky and the most expansive and thrilling view of the universe. Or the fear we feel in a moment of vulnerability, in which we are seen and met with compassion in the very place we have held or hidden shame. Consider the fear we experience during the creative process, in which new possibility bursts through the void as we take a bold risk in our artistic imagination. Or the fear we might feel when a lover we trust invites us outside of our comfort zone, revealing hidden chambers we have shied away from, renewing vitality that had been buried in the trenches of habit. 2 months before my experience in Big Sur, I had had another profound experience on the final evening session of a silent meditation retreat that I led at Land of Medicine Buddha in Northern California. It was then that the seed of this book was planted. in a candlelit meditation hall, surrounded by majestic redwood trees. I invited questions about integrating the practices we had engaged in. The room felt still, settled, and tender. A young student asked me, "What advice do you have for the younger generations, given the state of the world we are inheriting?" I held the question in quietude for a moment, sensing my own mix of feelings for all those who have inherited even more challenges than my own generation. I felt everyone in the room, regardless of age, sink into resonance with sobering collective grief about the state of our world. For every human being alive at this time, I believe it is time to let go of our current obsession with enlightenment and include the teachings of endarkenment. That is, it is time to commit to turning toward rather than away from darkness, and to learn to perceive with the heart, beyond unconscious bias and hierarchical perception. I believe that darkness, physical and symbolic, is deeply misunderstood, yet it offers powerful medicine for the times we face and our relationships with ourselves, one another, and our planet. As the conversation continued, I realized something I'd long been aware of, but never fully or publicly acknowledged. Darkness has been my greatest teacher. Mine has been a path, not of seeking illumination or transcendence, but of finding wholeness through surrendering to the fertile and dark emptiness from which revelation arises. Mine has been a Dharma path of endarkenment and of helping myself and others to reawaken to the teachings of darkness. As a female Dharma teacher who has navigated chronic and debilitating illness, been engaged in the heartbreak of environmental and social justice work for many years, and experienced the liminal space between the worlds throughout my lifetime, darkness has offered medicine, serenity, strength, and healing. It has taken me time, however, to realize the value of endarkenment alongside enlightenment, in a world where there is a preference for light over dark, and where illumination is not only celebrated, but the goal of spiritual practice. Darkness has been my guide in embodying relational intelligence, partnership with nature, and a joie de vivre that cannot be accessed when we look only toward the light. Enlightenment is neither an end nor a goal. Teachings on enlightenment saved my life. Buddhist meditation and enlightenment teachings offered a path for going beyond suffering and dissolving my fixed sense of self in order to reawaken to who and what I actually was. While it was hardly what I expected, meditation also revealed for me the degree to which human consciousness has been impacted by generations of patriarchy, anthropocentrism, colonialism, capitalism, individualism, and consumerism. Hierarchical perception is the root of delusion beneath every ism we face as a species today. It impacts some of us much more harshly and directly than others. However, it impacts each and every one of us in some way, regardless of gender, belief system, ethnicity, or race. Hierarchy assumes superiority and inferiority. I write this book with the hope that humanity can address the seed from which it evolves, as well as the fruit that it propagates. Meditation practice revealed the ways in which I had inherited the trance of hierarchical perception. The world I grew up in celebrated the exclusive value of light, action, speed, productivity, attainment, destination, linear time, rationality, and logic. Meditation gradually reawakened me to the balance that bridges the power of dark and light, yin and yang, and deep feminine and sacred masculine, the receptive and expressive aspects of our nature. One of my purposes in writing this book is to address spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing is the use of spiritual practices and concepts to avoid and even deny painful realities throughout our human experience. This perpetuates reality avoidance, feel-good escapism, and the use of spirituality to find an island of peace to hold on to. There is no island of peace. There is no escape from the mess of our heartbroken world. Only when we stop trying to escape and invite the whole messy world into our hearts will our heartbreak be made whole. This requires us to become uncompromisingly real and remember instead the loving embrace that leaves nothing out. Spiritual practice is as prone to unconscious bias and limiting assumptions as any other domain of human experience. Contemporary spiritual teachings often encourage an up, and away approach to awakening, taking people out of their bodies and promoting transcendence, elevation, philosophizing, and attainment. There can be a conscious or unconscious assumption that enlightenment is an end and a goal, when it is neither. In the pursuit of enlightenment, I have often witnessed meditators striving to get to the light, with the assumption that spiritual light is the product of spiritual practice. This feeds a duality that is fundamentally not helpful between body, spirit, sky and earth, good and bad, subject, object, and consciousness, unconsciousness. I have witnessed people discount the body, human emotions, shadow, the subconscious, and the great mystery itself. Our shadows are those attributes and qualities that are inconsistent with the self-concept we are trying to maintain, but that we are often unaware of. This has resulted in entrenched fear and discomfort binding many generations. The bias toward light over dark caused tremendous confusion in my own early path as a meditator. I am grateful that over time, practice has led me to clear up some major misconceptions around spirituality and to help others do the same. My path has been about learning to stay present to the wordless, invisible mystery, not knowing, and the deeper, darker undercurrents of life, moment by moment. It has been about coming home to the immeasurable wisdom of my body. It has been about surrendering the comforts of the logical and linear mind and welcoming other forms of knowing, which affirm my place in the intricate web of interdependence. Spiritual practice is a process of finding freedom by turning toward and letting go of fear. Turning toward is the motion that allows us to remember the compassion that is who we really are. If we fear darkness and the great void, then how can we awaken? This book is an invitation to remember what one half of your nature cannot access alone. This book beckons you to get to know the friend, teacher, sanctuary, and consciousness of darkness. It is only when we allow ourselves repeatedly to commune with the elemental darkness that we gradually open to an unwavering inner light, regardless of outer condition. Dark and light work in a reciprocal relationship to affirm true nature. In this age of disruption and anxiety about the future of our planet, the divine darkness may be our greatest ally rather than a danger to be feared. Many of you listening to this book have experienced the creative tension that exists between feeling grief for our planet and its people and species and feeling a passionate responsibility to respond. Our world is facing unprecedented challenges, yet many of you sense that we were made for this time. As we turn toward rather than away from our pain for our world, we realize a deeper sense of purpose. When we remember that we are in this together, we expand our capacity to love across lines. When we feel and sense rather than try to think our way through it, we access the wisdom of our natural feedback systems as members of planet Earth. And the more we learn to include the invisible along with the visible world in our awareness, the more we gain access to a hidden source of energy with which to meet with love the myriad challenges that we face today. In this book, I will suggest ways that the divorce of dark and light has impacted humanity spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, ecologically, interpersonally, and globally. I believe it has perpetuated fear of the unknown. It has perpetuated a pattern of reactivity and divisiveness in which we perceive anything different as other. It has contributed to systemic racism and discrimination against people with darker skin, as well as misogyny and transphobia. It has contributed to the excess artificial lighting of our planet, climate change, species extinction, and human domination over the natural world. It has fed disrespect for the slow and invisible processes of nature and consciousness. Before we go deeper, the English language is very limited when it comes to spirituality, consciousness, and mysticism. Humanity's long legacy of spiritual language has been replaced primarily with marketplace language. We will explore marketplace mentality later in this book. I have done my best to find language that is accessible, meaningful, and unbiased. I acknowledge, however, that all of the English language carries some cultural bias and binary tendency. I offer basic definitions as we go to create the context for this book and to help clarify your understanding of the terms used. I am a white, middle-class woman who understands that the very opportunity I have had to steep myself in formal spiritual practice in this lifetime is a result of privilege. Buddhism teaches that being human is all that's required to awaken. Unfortunately, in the Western world today, the leisure to engage in formal spiritual practice has become a privilege of money and time. It is vital to recognize the challenges and barriers to formal spiritual practice presented by socio-economic disparity.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?